Okay, now we're gonna look at the EQ. So the EQ is, I mean, it's just like any other EQ, except in this, when we're EQing for mastering, we want to be making those subtle moves, right? We don't want to be doing, don't want to be making really grand cuts or boosts, unless we're cutting uh, the subsonic frequencies or these super high frequencies, because we don't want to impact the overall character of our track. And usually just cutting those frequencies that are barely audible as it is will create more headroom so you can push the volume a lot more without distorting. So we have 8 bands here. We can activate all of those bands if we want to. Um, each one has a different set of curves that we can select. I'm not going to get into the curves because it's more of a beginner novice uh, topic that other courses on the site have covered in depth. So if you're not sure what a high pass or low shelf or bell or any of these mean, jump over to one of those other videos in on the Academy website, and they'll be able to explain that to you. Chances are, if you're watching a mastering course and you don't know what EQ is, you probably need to backtrack a little bit, anyways, because mastering is kind of the uh, the last thing when you're done making your track that you need to learn. So right here we have 3 different views, so all with different uh, well, they show different readings. So right here, this one's a really limited one. This will only show the band that you're clicking on and the value that you're clicking on at the time. Right here, you can see the value of each band that you've clicked on, but it will only show one band at a time, and this one will show all the bands at the same time. But we're gonna keep it here because this will give us the most options, and we're gonna take a look at the matching function in a second. So right here we have our stereo EQ. So if we want to just take care of EQing the 2 track, which is right up here, um, we'd want it to be set to stereo. But if we want to be EQing the mids separately than the sides, then we could be doing this on the mid side function right here, or the if we wanted to EQ the left and right, we could do it right here. I mean, this one, I mean, like I said, really subtle movements. That's like if you got maybe something that's coming in really hot on the right side and you want to just lower that a little bit at a certain frequency range, this is handy for that. But chances are you're going to spend most of your time in the stereo EQ. So right down here we have analog and digital. These are 2 separate types of EQ. The analog will add color to each of your movements. So if you're boosting something, it's going to add some color, some texture to that EQ move. That mimics those analog old school style EQs. Right here is digital. This one's not going to add color, and it gives you a little bit more control over your movements with surgical mode. So you can really dial in things really tight that way, and not have any coloring or distortion or anything. So right down here we have matching. So matching is pretty cool. So let's actually capture a curve right here. We're gonna capture our EQ curve for the track we're working on right here. So I'm gonna hit play. Okay. I think that's good. It's got the general curve of our track right here. It's looking pretty good. It's looking about how we want it to look. Now we can come over here to our target curve. So we can either import a custom EQ curve, maybe from one of our references, or we can jump to pink noise. So pink noise, this is a well, pink noise is a flat response across all frequencies. So this is more of a um, sort of just an even level across the low frequencies is same as the highs in terms of perceived loudness. So we can adjust the curve this way by using the matched curve controls right here. So if you can see that when we bring the amount all the way down, doesn't matter how much smoothing we use. You don't want to be having this all the way up at 100 and 100 because I mean that's just going to make it sound like this. You can hear all that distortion. It's just way too much. But at the same time, you don't want to be just setting this like, okay, set the EQ curve to pink noise. Okay, I'm set. Because what it's doing is it's just compensating for each one of these frequencies and trying to match it to this red line in here. That's our pink noise curve. Generally, I mean, these are just guidelines just to help you along in the process. If you watch my Neutron course, you heard me say it a bunch of times. These tools that iZotope offers you aren't meant to be just like set it and forget it tools. These are just to help you along in the process. So you want to be making these EQ moves with that in mind. You don't want to be just setting these and then just being like, okay, we're done. So you got the custom curve, the 6 dB curve. They're all really helpful. So, and then if you want to just jump back and do this, you could do it manually. But yeah, I'd recommend using your EQ along with the tonal balance control, and we'll get into that later on. Tonal balance control is an awesome tool from iZotope, but that's about it for the EQ, guys.